So when is it time to change the strings? When should I change my cello strings? This is a question I get asked quite often because it can be difficult to know, especially if you're a beginner, if you're a student, if you haven't been playing for long, or maybe if you have been playing for a while, it still might be something that's on your mind. All right, so there are three main things that I would tell you about changing strings. The first and easiest is just calendar, all right? How long have your current strings been on the cello? I think changing strings once a year is a good rule of thumb for everybody, regardless of how much you play. Remember, the strings are on your instrument, tuned up with tension on them, even if they're just sitting in your case, and eventually they will wear out regardless of how much you play them, okay? So, mark your calendar, see how long it's been since you changed your strings. Sometimes I have students in here and I say, when was the last time you changed your strings? And they don't know, okay? So we have all these devices, we have our phones, write it down. Maybe you ordered it online or you got it at a shop, call the shop, see if they have a record, or go look back through your email or whatever, find out how long those strings have been on your cello. If it's been more than a year, for sure you need to change them. For me, it's ranged all over depending on how much I was playing. I think at the height of my playing, like on a regular basis, I would change every 6 months, change them every 6 months. That's when I was playing a lot in the evenings and playing in a lot of different groups and, gigging and doing different things on the weekends. About the longest I've ever been is 18 months. I think I went one time without changing my strings. Now I change them about once a year because they do get worn out, all right? So mark your calendar, go by the time, change them at least once a year, more often, okay, if you're playing a lot. Now the time, I went 18 months, as I mentioned, but, I put really nice strings on my cello, and the quality does matter. More expensive strings will sound better for a little bit longer. Yes, they wear out, after about a year, you'll start to hear that they're a little bit worn, but if they're really, really nice, they'll sound okay even when they've gotten worn out a little bit. Cheap strings, once they're gone, they're gone. That's it. There's no middle ground. They wear out and they're done. So be thinking about that when you are purchasing strings, that nicer strings will last a little bit longer. All right, now the next two that I want to tell you about have to do directly with the sound, and it just comes with experience. The longer you play, the more you'll notice these things when your strings start to wear out. So the first thing is they just aren't making that much sound. At some point they lose their buoyancy, they lose their ability to move very well, and so they're just not going to be as loud. They're not going to respond the way you want. You're going to feel like you're just having to work extra hard to get the sound out of the strings. And so just be listening for that. And it takes getting used to. It's not an exact science. That's why I say first use the calendar. But when you feel like they're just not doing what you want them to do, it's probably time to change them. Now, if it feels like they're not doing what you want them to do and you just changed them 2 weeks ago, well, you just need to practice. But if they're not doing what you need them to do, and you look back and you say, oh, it was 8 months, it was a year ago that I changed my strings, probably it's time to change the strings. The last one has to do with tuning. You may have heard the terms ringing true or ringing false, if a string is ringing false. At some point, the string gets worn out and it doesn't ring properly the way that it's supposed to. I mentioned that a second ago when we're talking about, the string not responding to your playing. Well, at some point, it's not going to ring, and the pitch of the string is not going to ring true. And so you'll be going to tune your instrument, and it will seem like it's taking just a very long time to get it in tune. It's kind of hard to hear because the pitch isn't quite clear enough to really get it in tune quickly and efficiently. Well, it could be that the string is worn out. Now, if you're a beginner, if you've just started, if you haven't been playing long, again, check the calendar, check your time. If your strings are a month old and you're having trouble tuning, well, that's not because of old strings, unless, you got a bad string, which can happen every once in a while. It's never actually happened to me. It's only something I've heard of, that a string can be manufactured and ring false, but it's so rare that in 30 years, I've never gotten an actual false string out of the package. But anyway, so you'll be going to tune, and you're trying to play, and you're trying to tune up, and it just seems like it won't get in tune, and you look at the calendar, and, oh, it's been a year since I changed my strings. It's been 18 months since I changed my strings. Probably I need to change them so that I can hear the pitch better. All right? So go listen to your strings, play them, check the calendar, put some new ones on, and come back and leave a comment. Did this help? If it did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and come back for more videos. Thanks.